multi-dimensional database tool, okay, wherein the data can be stored in n number of ways. That means there is no limit for your dimensionality. Let's say, for example, if you go to any store, or if you go to any industry, or if you go to any kind of government sector companies, so whatever it is, okay, so at the end of the day, if you want to use the data, or if you want to use that data for business analysis, or in order to get, or in order to increase your productivity, so the ultimate aim will be, that means ultimate aim would be getting more productivity, that means getting more profits, and then the second one is maintaining the clean balance sheet. So these are the two functional parameters for which every company will look out for. So in that case, company wants to have some kind of system which will have some kind of business intelligence plus the multi-dimensional database capabilities, so that any set of or the meaningful data records can be stored in a database which is having the limitless capacity. So that what is called as multi-dimensional. If you can observe here, okay, so we have, let's say for example, for every company there will be account, and there will be some kind of products which will be here you can see there are like accountant, product manager, regional manager, financial analyst. So these are the different positions, or you can say these are the roles, or these are some of the key roles for which company everybody will be following. So here you can see sales, margin, all these are accounts, and OEM, retail, all these are the sections of your company. Light, third means these are like some of your products which company will be producing. So here you can see January, February, like that. That means you can create a database which will have limitless capacity to store the elements. Such elements is called as dimensions. So that's how a simple overview of the multi-dimensional case. Sorry, let me go to the other one where I can show you that that Oracle Hyperion is other EPM tool, or I can say Oracle Hyperion is a enterprise performance management. So when I say Oracle performance management, what it will typically do, it will always try to improve the performance of your company, organization, or any industry, whatever it is. So in such cases, so this is a slide which will explain the simple Oracle Enterprise Performance System, wherein it's, as I told in the earlier classes, it is also again a three-layered architecture. The first layer, as I told in the earlier classes, so let me just show you the slide where I have shown you the multi, or I can say this EPM, or I can say the architecture of Hyperion. Specifically you can see Essbase architecture. So as I told, for Essbase we have this database tier, which is the backend database tier, which will have always in turn connection with your RDBMS systems. So that means you can create a multi-dimensional database system by using a reference called RDBMS systems. So the best examples is like, let's say you have some data on Oracle database, or you have some data in SQL Server, or you have something in IBM DB2. So by using that kind of data or data records, you can pull the data records, right? You can take that data out of these RDBMS systems, and then you can create this kind of multi-dimensional database. So when I say multi-dimensional database, data will be, or data can be stored in n number of ways. So if I plot in this fashion, like a cubical structure, right? So I can create this kind of cubical structure with the data from your RDBMS systems. So the advantages, as I told, there are multiple advantages that we can get by creating this kind of Hyperion database. So which is simply called as Essbase. The name itself says that extended spreadsheet database. So that means this Hyperion is being evolved from the features of your Microsoft Excel. So if you go to the normal one, we will not be seeing this kind of add-ins. So in Essbase, this Excel functionality or the Hyperion plus the Excel functionality is called as Essbase, and when you go to the planning, Hyperion planning, that is called as Smart View. So in the future classes, we will be discussing more detail about all these things. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just so as we discussed, this is like the first layer which we have seen. Okay, this is simply called as backend layer, which is called as DB layer, and the middle layer is simply a layer which will connect between your database to the front end tile. Okay, so there will be always a connection which will be there between your client layer to the database layer by using this middle layer. So middle layer is typically like a link which will be established by using some kind of services, or there will be different services. So for Essbase there will be a service. For FDME, that means financial database integrator, there will be other service. For provider service, which will act as a binding material between your Essbase and as well as the front end medium. So all these are, there will be multiple services or multiple chain or links which will be acting as a middleman between your database to the client layer, is called as a middle tier. So as per this, we have at the Hyperion, we can say that Hyperion Essbase is a typical, or I can say Hyperion Essbase is a multi-dimensional database containing the 3-layered architecture. Okay, clear guys? Just give me a ping so that I would be understanding if you guys are clear. Okay, so before that, what I want to show you is let me just give me a minute. Okay, so I have so much of material. So we LA classes, we will be, or we have discussed so much of stuff about or what is Oracle Hyperion. Okay, how the architecture will behave. Yeah. So typically, as I told, we will be discussing about Oracle Hyperion Essbase, which is the database module of our Hyperion, and the second part is Oracle Hyperion Planning, which is like a planning tool. On top of your Essbase database, we will be creating some kind of planning tool which will be useful for doing the planning and forecasting. So if you can see that, for every companies, your planning and forecasting is most important, because it typically decides the future of your company, or it decides the fate of your company in the coming years. Let's say, for example, a company is producing, let's say, 100 products per every month in the year 2016, let's say in the month of January. So if company wants to increase their productivity, they should plan such that they should improve their productivity in the next year, that is 2017. So companies will project a kind of budget and forecast which will be act as, or this particular budgeting and forecasting figures will act as some kind of reference for the future business. Or by using this kind of targets, all the departments will be given this kind of targets, so that once we have a goal set by the top level management, and they will be providing the guidelines to achieve this kind of targets. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we will be trying to, or we will be pushing our life, or we will be pushing hard for getting that kind of productivity or that kind of profits. So we have discussed more about Hyperion database cycle as well, and so these are the key elements that we have discussed, right? So you can see there are multiple benefits of the Hyperion as well. Okay, So unlike the other things, okay, we have unlike the other products, or like the other products also, we have several benefits which is being listed out for Hyperion. You can see you can create the individual applications which will be integrated with other applications as well, and as well as there will be so much of flexibility, or you can do so much of changes if you are a master in the domain. Let's say for example, if you are master in Hyperion Essbase, you can create your own applications and databases so that a multi-dimensional database cube is ready to use this cube to get the benefits of our Hyperion. Okay, so let me show you a slide which will tell more, or I can say which will give more information about how the Hyperion Hyperion will be useful. You can see these are some of the key features. Okay, so let's say for example, let me start by one. Let's say for example, a company is doing their business in Excel sheets. So by using single Excel sheet, company will not be able to maintain a single database or a single Excel sheet by which they can't able to get their profits, or they can't be able to getting their budgets or forecast. So it's difficult. So that means they will be maintaining multiple Excel sheets. But what is the benefit there is that when you use multiple, or when you use Hyperion Essbase database, let's say for example, all these are the elements. So as I told, Hyperion Essbase is nothing but the combination of multiple dimensionality. If you can see this, just a simple example, you would be able to get it. Let's say for example, region is a dimension. That means if region is simply that the, or I can say the geographical location of your business. Let's say if a company is doing some kind of business in different country, or a company is doing business in US, and company is similarly doing a business in Indian region, or company is doing a business in African region. So the requirement is that we should have a kind of system which would support multiple regions and multiple years as well. And it has to be our company, or for every company there will be the key functional parameters which are called as accounting parameters. Like let's say for example, sales margin, cost of goods, or multiple cost of goods can be categorized under accounts. So all these are the functional parameters, like your account, region, scenario means simply, let's say if I am getting $100 as sales value for a particular product. So that kind of actual budget and forecast is called as simply the scenario. So here you can see this is simply, all these are some kind of databases that I have taken as a references from our system, and I have given the classes for the previous batches. Here you can see these are the different entities, or I can say region, and these are the periods. Yeah. So this is how in Hyperion we will be, or by using Microsoft Excel, you can able to integrate the best benefits. You can see you can integrate, or you can use this business intelligence or Oracle Hyperion business intelligence to use the multiple spreadsheets. Okay, and you can analyze the key. It's not only about customer data, you can analyze any data like your financial data, your HR data, your productivity reports, or your sales reports, or your marketing strategy reports, or your board of director reports. So all these things can be analyzed by using Hyperion. Okay, and there are several systems are by using Hyperion. You can get some kind of cost saving links, or you can generate some kind of cost saving systems through which you can actually benefit for the organization. Okay, and you can simply develop these applications when you have right skills and capability. Okay, and as I told, Excel sheets can't be have or we can't provide security for the Excel sheets. Let's say for example, if somebody sent you some Excel, okay, unless and until you provide some kind of security, that is not secure enough, right? Or there are so many chances that Excel sheets will be get corrupted. So in that case, Hyperion will provide better robust security systems. That means in Hyperion we have feasibility to create some kind of users and groups. Let's say for example, for all the marketing groups, I'll be creating a group, and that marketing group will be given a kind of, I can say, kind of security which will enable them to access only the marketing department details. And in the same case, let's say an HR team will be given access to the HR, or I can say HR templates or the HR functionality, so that they will not be given, or they will not be misusing their authority. Okay, and this will support so larger community of the users, or I can say data sets. Let's say for example, by using Oracle Hyperion, or you can use any number of users. Let's say if a company is having 100 members, or if company is having 10,000 members also, this Hyperion can be used. There is no limit for that. Okay, and it enables rapid discovery of trends. Like means trends are simply how the business is flowing. In the last, let's say for example, last year I have got $10 million sales, and in the current year I got 11,000, or I can say $11,000 million. And so based on these trends, I would be able to presume that in the coming years I will be definitely getting 12 million logs, or 12 million anything, any dollar, something like that. So any kind of systems, or you can predict the future by using this kind of systems. Okay, so in Hyperion or Hyperion key features, so these are the key features. So you can integrate this with the existing infrastructure. Let's say for example, if you have Excel sheets, or if you have some kind of Talio, some kind of basic Talio, or the basic calculating systems, that systems can be integrated with Oracle Hyperion. Okay, and you can do this data integration as well. That means data can be integrated, or other systems, other RDBMS, or any kind of data systems, data can be integrated into Hyperion, so that it is easy for our data analysis. Okay, so this Oracle Hyperion will have powerful querying nature, through which you can create several business logics, right? So these are the some of the typical features of Oracle Hyperion. So write back security. So write back is other functionality. So when I say write back, it is nothing but the overwriting. Write back is simply, let's say for example, you can lock and send data. So that is called as write back. So let's say for example, let me just, before showing that, I just show you how this write back will work. So as I told, the system is a security system, right? So in order to log into a system, you need to connect this. So for logging into system, you will be given with username and password. Okay, so once you give this username and password, you should be able to log in. But it is giving an error because I haven't started my services, right? So for starting the services, I should typically start my server, right? So as I told, Oracle Hyperion is a three-layered architecture. So if you don't start, or if you don't communicate all these services to the front end back end, then we would not be able to start our application. So that's the reason I'm starting in my server. Okay, so which will take just a fraction of seconds to start, and then I'll be going to start my Essbase, which is a database. So as I told, at every point of time, security can be maintained, or users can be created in order to start, or in order to get the control over our Hyperion, or get the control over our Hyperion database. So once you start this, typically now you should be able to log in, right? So before that I'm getting a network error because I haven't started any services for that. So then once I get this, so these are the typical, as I told, these are the some of the databases are solution. In Hyperion terminology, a particular business solution is called an application. Okay, so once I log into application, so what it will do, let me log into a new sheet so that you'll get a fair idea. So Essbase connect or, so let me, sorry guys, 1 second, it's caps lock is on password. Okay, so let's say for example demo basic. So once I connect to the database, then Essbase retrieve. Now you can see there are multiple dimensions. So let's say for example, here you can do some kind of drill up, drill down also. Let's say for example, if I want to see what is the parent of it, then here go back means you can expand and you can collapse. Here you can see I am able to expand and collapse. Here you can see our accounts can be brought into rows, and this market can be brought into columns. So like this, I will be having more flexibility to use the system. Let's say for example, if I want to see what are the different accounts available under product, or what are the different members under my product or profit. Here you can see when I say profit is output out of your margin and total expenses. So when I say total expenses, marketing, payroll, miscellaneous, like that. When I say margin, you have sales minus cost of goods is margin. Let's say for example, I'll just expand here you can see. So I can have, if you can see here, so let's say sales is 100, okay, and cost of goods for this is 50. A query from Intias that are all the dimensions are already available in the Excel sheet, or do we need to create or map them? So there is, as I told, there are standard dimensions without which you can't create a solution. Let's say for example, when I go to any company, okay, I would definitely need my accounts, or for any company I will have some kind of chart of accounts, right? So without chart of accounts, any company will not function. Sorry if I am giving this kind of typos. Okay, chart of accounts. Then every company will have, a manufacturing companies will have products. Let's say some kind of airlines industry will have routes, right? Or some kind of government companies will have some kind of departments, right? So as I told, there is no hardcore rule that every company or every organization will follow similar dimensions, right? It depends. Some companies will have different entities, or some company will have entity, or even some companies will maintain regions as a specific dimensions also. So account, as I told, period, okay, year, then scenario. Okay, so here you can see there are several dimensions which I have written now. So out of which I would need, definitely I would need my accounts, definitely I would need my region, definitely I would need my period, definitely I would need my year, right? So out of this you can see depends. It depends if companies produce some kind of products, or if companies produce some kind of services, right? So there is no hardcore rule that companies should produce some kind of products, right? There is no rule. Or companies will, let's say for example, if companies is in airlines industry, different routes will be there, right? If company is producing different kind of geographical, or let's say if company is having some kind of HR department, all right, and then marketing department. So like this, there is no hard code rule that, yeah, in simpler terms, I can say that there are some kind of standard dimensions, or I can say standard dimensions, and there are some custom dimensions. Okay, so like this, there is no hard rule that you should take this as standard dimensions or you should take this as custom dimensions. It typically depends on how business requires that, right? So the answer for this is, our company will provide some kind of Excel sheets. Let's say, for example, let me open some kind of Excel sheet. Okay, so companies will produce this kind of Excel sheets. Okay, once companies produce, this is the real-time Excel sheet which sorry, for one of client. By using this Excel as a reference, we have created a planning system, or we have created an Essbase solution. Okay, so when you analyze this, you can see all these are average balances, right? All these are some of the typical accounts. Yeah, but when you go to this kind of other dimensions, here you can see cars, botany, real estate, all these are the products. Okay, it's not accounts, all these are your company's products or some kind of banking products. So like that, you need to analyze. Here you can see all these are the key departments, right? Or I can say business units. Retail is a business unit, corporate is a business unit, SME, small means small and medium enterprises, treasury, CFO. So all these are the some of the key BUs, or I can say BUs of a banking system, right? So it varies based on your type of business, nature of business. It varies, depends on the nature of the business which you are going to do for next years. So all these are some of the I can say key parameters are based on the client current business. We should understand what kind of dimensions should be created and what kind of data has to be taken into consideration. So this is how we are going to analyze. Let me just open to a system. 1 second. Yeah. So as I told, so these are the typical, I can say, let me go up. Yeah, as we discussed, right? So for any architecture, for any tool which will have this kind of SDLC. So in the first stage itself, companies are, when we go to the company sites, we will be analyzing the business requirements, and then we will be creating these kind of business plans, and then we will be deciding what type of dimensions should be taken and whether these dimensions are useful. So these will be done in the first phase, or I can say first stage of the database cycle. So once this has been decided, then we will be communicating by writing some kind of application into consideration, which is called as a solution. Okay, so that's the second. That means there are multiple stages. You are as a developer or an implementation team, we should undergo all these steps such that we will be getting a kind of solution. So let me log in and show you how we will be creating this kind of solutions. Yeah, once you log in, you would be able to see. So this is one of the Essbase administration services console, or I can say this is a front end medium, okay, through which we will be creating an Essbase application. Okay, so under this Essbase application, you would be able to see server. So under the server, I would be able to see this because I have installed Hyperion or Hyperion Essbase on my local machine. So that is simply called as a local host. Under this local host, I would be able to see several applications. Okay, so as I told, application is nothing but a solution through which you will be providing the business key functionalities. So here you can see there are several applications, like your demo is an application, and ASO samp is application, DM demo sample. So all these are the applications. So when you see this kind of icon in Hyperion, that stands for your application. And when you see this, when you analyze under application, there are databases. So this particular icon stands for database. So like your Oracle database or our SQL database, that's like a cylindrical shape. Once you see this kind of shape, that is called an database. So once you expand the database, you would able to see the outline. Okay. So as I told, we'll be discussing what is meant by an outline. Okay. So we are now discussing the I can say SDLs of our Hyperion. So that's the first step. First step is our requirement gathering, right? So in the requirement gathering, okay, we will be using the current business and then suggest for new Hyperion system. Alright. So second step is creating the application or database. That is like a so let's say for example, if you once you decide that or once you finalize your requirements, you will be creating an application, right? That's the second step in our system. You can see, and then once you have this, then designing the outline is the third step, right? So third step is typically so third one is designing the outline. So outline is nothing but a skeleton structure, a skeleton structure which will be useful or which will contain all the dimensionality. Okay, so that is called as the outline, right? So let's say for example, if I will go and show you some creation, how to create an application, you will be getting a fair idea, right? So let's go and show the different steps in our SDLC. So once I go to application, I would able to or once you select the application, then right click on the application, you would able to see multiple options here. Okay, so when you go, or if you want to start application, you can stop and stop as well, but it is always good to have right set of skills and knowledge before you do this kind of start and stop applications. So let's go and create an application. So once you go to this create application window, you would able to see there are two options here. Okay, one is by using block storage and by using aggregate storage. So these are I can say there are two different type of applications that you can create in Essbase, but for time being I'm not explaining much about this, but maybe next class I will be able to explain what is meant by aggregate or what is meant by block. So let's go to block storage, and I'm just giving a name. Okay, so here you can see I'm giving the name as Hyperion demo. Okay, and then click on OK. So this is how we will be creating a application on the server or on the Hyperion server. So it will take a couple of minutes max. Okay, so once you create this application, you will see Hyperion demo is the application that I have created newly. So once you click on that, you will not find anything under application, but without having any meaningful database under the application, that's of no use for business. Okay, so in order to give some kind of meaning to the business or meaning to the application, you would create database, or we should create a database. Okay, so naming you can give anything, but it should resemble the business. Let's say for example, if company is giving, or you can give companies names as well. Let's say if you are giving some kind of you are doing some business for Walmart, or if you are doing business for other Ford companies like a Ford or something, so you will be giving the proper naming convention, or client will provide proper naming convention such that you will use that same naming convention for your application name. Okay. So here you can see multiple applications because we have several set of applications that are available. Okay. So here let's say for example Hype 1, or I can give anything. Okay. So here here there are couple of databases. You can see normal databases and currency database as well. Normal, let's say for example, normal is like a normal application which won't have uses of multiple currencies. Let's say for example, if company is doing business in Africa, in country called Egypt, if company is doing business in Asia, in country called India, in some situations or in such situations, you need to tackle or you need to consider different currencies. Like Egypt will have Egypt currency and India will have INR. So like that for other countries also there will be different currencies. So in order to tackle that kind of situations, because ultimately the company wants to see the data in single currency. Okay, let's say for example single currency means that can be anything, either it can be US dollars or it can be INR as well. It depends on companies what are companies reporting standards. Okay. So let's say for example you have some you have some currency in SLR, you have some currency in euro, or you have some business in euro, INR and US dollars, and ultimately you want to transfer or you want to show your profits and balance sheet in balance sheet and P&L in single currency. So in that situations, we will be going for multi-currency application. So typically multi-currency will transform all the local currencies into single currency, which is called as reporting currency. Okay, getting it? So in that situations, we will be using this kind of currency database. Okay. So let's start with a simple one, normal one, and then maybe after a week of time we'll be creating currency application as well. Okay. So once you click on create database, you would able to see the database is created under this application, which is called Hype. Under the database, there are some kind of predefined artifacts which will be created once we create the database, right? And then here you can see the outline. So as I told, outline is nothing but a skeleton structure which will hold all the dimensionality. So when I say dimension, it's not only the dimension. It's when I say dimension is the topmost member under your. So let me go and show you an example which will tell you. Let's say, yeah, here you can see. Here you can see there are different products. Okay, so here product is a dimension. Okay, and performance, light bolt, thunderball, performance value, all these are the your members under a product, right? So in that situation, product is called as dimension. Okay, so when I say outline, outline will contain the dimensional hierarchies. It's not a when I say dimension, dimension is not a single member. Okay, similar type of, or when you group a similar set of members into a hierarchy or into a category, that is called as dimensional hierarchy. Okay, so outline is typically a skeleton structure which will contain the different dimensional parameters. Like a customer is a dimensional parameter, product is a dimensional parameter, okay, year total is a dimensional parameter. So in our Hyperion, okay, when we create a outline, we will not be seeing anything, but ultimately when you create a solution, your outline should be, or your outline should contain different key dimensional parameters. So that is called as an outline. Clear, guys? Clear, guys?
So going forward, are we going to create a company and like start as initial setups and doing that, or directly you continue what is going on right now?
So, sir, can you please repeat?
Like going forward, will you create a company and show us like how it starts and like how it's gonna process and how you're gonna end it, or like we're gonna directly start with a company which is already implemented or have the data or something like that?
It depends. It depends. So as I told, this solution can be implemented for the starter companies as well, or this solution can be implemented for current business holders also. Let's say some companies are doing business in Excel sheets. Okay, what I'll do, I'll go to that company, or my sales team will go to that company, and they will convey the client by showing these kind of benefits, or they will be giving some kind of CRP conference file demos, and then they will be convincing the client so that they will adapt this kind of solution. Either way it's possible. It's not that it can be useful for new come ups as well, and this solution can be useful for current business holders as well. Did I answer your question?
No, no, no. My question is for it's sorry, yeah. My question is not about the company start. I'm talking about the training purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So will you go about start a blank company and start, like inputting the data and stuff in that, or directly you're gonna open a company which is already having a data and show us examples like that? That would be better if you start with the blank company and like guide us to like how it starts, how we like use the Essbase and stuff and planning.
Correct. That's what
I'm
I'm
talking
doing.
about the training perspective for the next video.
Yes, yes, yes. That's what I'm doing. So I'm creating a blank application, and on top of the blank application, I'll be creating a metadata. So what I'm doing, I'm just following this life cycle SDLC. Okay. So by following this SDLC, I would be completing my Essbase. Here you can see, if I want to achieve, or if I want to create a solution, I would need to follow all these things. So if this first step I told you, right? So you need to analyze the business, and the second one is to create the outline, right? So now we are in the second step. So once I create this kind of demo application, then maybe after 2 weeks of time, I'll be showing you the real-time application in my system, how this real-time application will look like. But typically this will be replica of what we are doing. Clear?
Okay. What do you mean by metadata?
Yeah.
Is it like combination of all data?
Correct.
Dimension or something?
Correct. Next step is that. Okay. So once you hear about the outline parameters, your metadata and data picture will come into picture. Okay. I'm going to explain that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So so once we have this kind of the outline which is been formulated, okay, so this is how the empty outline will look like. So it doesn't contain anything as specific as such, but it will be displaying a structure. On top of it you can create multiple dimensional structures. Okay, so for creating a dimensional structure, let's go and let's open this or select this, then go to add child. Okay, or the basic principle before you start the outline is all the Hyperion will follow tree structure. So here you can see this is a parent. Okay, product is a parent. Under this product or under this parent you have children as performance, value, and under the performance you have different members called light bolt, thunderbolt. Or there will be cases that under light bolt you will have, let's say, 10 number of members. Under the 10 members you can have, there is no limit as such. It purely depends on your business, how big is your dimensional structures, or how small is your dimensional structure. It typically depends on the type of customer and type of business that you do. Okay, so once you have these kind of structures formulated, or which is being defined by the business or defined by the customer, then we will be creating these things in our application, right? So the simple is that Hyperion will follow the tree structure. So how the tree structure will look like? Every tree will have the bottommost will have the branch system or the root system, and then on top of the root system you need to have some kind of trunk, and on top of it you will have sub branches, sub branches, sub to sub branches, and then you'll have leaves, flowers, whatever this. A simple example. So in the same way, a dimensional structure will not have limitation in the members. Okay, it can have 10 members, it can have 20,000 members as well. I think I'm hearing something from Ahmad that he is not able to hear. Is it okay now, Ahmad? So that's how we'll be deciding how big is our dimension structure and then the members. Okay, and it typically follows these.
Is there any limit on is there any limit on the number of dimensions or with respect to the outline, when we are defining the outline?
Yes, there is a limit, is that you can create maximum of 20 dimensions. But in reality, I haven't encountered a situation with, or I can say with maximum of 15 dimensions. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So out of which there will be 8 standard dimensions and the rest would be your custom defined dimensions. Okay. So once we go to more details of the curriculum, we'll be seeing all these details. Yeah. Okay. So once we have this kind of, as I told, Hyperion will follow the tree structure. So for tree structure, I would definitely need or create the children, right? So I will use this add child option. Okay. So once you have this kind of option taken, then let's say for example account. Okay, account, and then once you click on enter, then what will happen? That will go to the next step, right? So once you create an account, okay, let's say for example company, or based on complaint requirement, I have decided that, or I can say the implementation team has decided that I would definitely need account, product, then let's say for example year, then period, and then what else? Okay, then entity. Okay, and then scenario as well. Yeah, just you need to type in, okay, and then click on enter, and then once you feel that all these dimensions will suffice your business requirement, okay, just go to escape, so that you will be exiting out of the edit mode. Okay, and then you need to verify this. Yeah, so once you verify this, you should get this kind of verified, or I can say verify success message, and then you need to save this. So once you verify and save this, what will happen? And so let me open the same database which we have created in the outline. I would be able to see the members which is being created. Okay, so that's how we will be creating this dimensionality, but it's a one-time activity. So once you create this dimensional structure, the next below parameter, or the next parameter, would be your metadata and data. Okay, so now I'll be explaining what is metadata and what is data. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll just opening a supporting slide, and then so here you can see all these are the windows that we have seen here. Okay, so here you can see Yeah, so as I told, it's a tree structured hierarchies. So which will be this is a cross section of your database or subsets of your database. Okay. Now, yeah. So let me just okay. So let me open a different slide. Okay, so that you'll be able to get. So you can see all these are as I told, right, all these are some kind of typical parameters, or I can say SDLC steps. You can see identify the business requirements, identify data sources, analyze the sample reports. Yeah, so all these are some of the I can say steps under our SDLC. Okay, so you can see how we'll be creating applications. Yeah, so all these are steps that is been given. What I'll do, I'll be sharing all these files with you as well. Okay, so here you can see, yeah, here you can see different the hierarchical structures of your scenario. Yeah, here you can see, like children of your scenario, right, which is under scenario you have current year, prior year, forecast year, budget, like that. And under that, so all these metadata, or I can say all these dimensional hierarchies, will go by normal English terminology. Like when I say child, is the below element is called as a child, and the top member is called as parent, or the upper member is called as a parent. Or when I say siblings are nothing but the same level or the same generation members. So all these are the, I can say, dimensional hierarchy terminology which we will be keeps on using in Hyperion. Okay, so like generation, level, parent and child. So all these are the key parameters which will be defining, or which will be used to define the outline structures. Okay, so but we will be discussing more detail, okay, when we go to these structures as well. Okay, so so once we have this kind of knowledge about that, so then we'll just go to a example to explain what is data and what is metadata. Okay, so let me give an example of metadata. So metadata is nothing but the, or I can say the combination of different members of different dimensions under a application is called as metadata. Let me give a simple example. Let's say I want to store 10 records, or some HR team has given a data set or data samples, are based on the sales that they have given, or based on the salaries that they have given for employees, right? So let me take an example from the sales team. That sales team has provided a data, okay, in the month of January, let's say in the year 2016, okay, for a product called retail product, yeah, and for a region called, let's say for example, Egypt, okay, and sales year, region, product, and the data will be like a actual data. Let's say for example the value is, it's not, it can be, when I say Egypt, this should be Egyptian currency. Okay, let's say for example 1200. So when you see this example, all this particular combination is called as metadata. Okay, are the key business parameters, or I can say the key business parameter combination is called as metadata. Or in simpler terms, metadata is the dimensional parameters, or I can say combination of all the different dimensional parameters which can be possible within the database is called as metadata. Okay, or it is simply explanation about data. Clear? Yeah. So that is called as metadata. So this is metadata, and this particular thing is called as data. So when I say this is a record from record, I mean this I can say this is one record. So when I say one record, it is combination of your metadata and data. Let's say for example, if I take the same example and keep this as, let's say, if I replace this with my different scenario called budget, and if I provide this budget as sorry 1500, that is one more record. So in the same way, I can create multiple data records. Yeah, I can create multiple records by using by based on this. Let's say for example, if I give this parameter as Feb, okay, and my data will differ, right? So that means if I start creating this kind of records, or if I get this kind of records from my company or from my department, I'll be able, let's say, instead of my retail, I will use HR team. Okay, so instead of my, let's say for example, Egypt team, what I'll do, I'll provide some kind of country called, let's say for example, Ghana. So Ghana is a different country, right? Yeah. So like this, all for any company will be getting this kind of data, right? So when I get this kind of data sets or data records, all this record is a combination of your metadata plus data. Clear, guys? So that's how the metadata and data will be useful, or in order to create an application, your dimensional hierarchies will play an important role. Under this dimensional hierarchies, we'll have data and as well as metadata. Okay, so that's how we'll be designating the based on the records that we are getting from the company, or based on the records that we are going to create for this new solution. We'll consider all these records as the combination of metadata plus data. Okay, so the next step is, so if I go to SDLC, you can see once you design the outline, or it can be vice versa, your third step can be vice versa. It's always better to or I can say check this third step before you create this second step, right? Let's say if I give the simple example, I mean once I get the deal from my sales team, I'll go as the architect and design this application, right? And just imagine a situation that without giving proper, or without providing a specified hardware requirements to the client will not provide the hardware, or client will not provide the required hardware to the team. So then what will happen? Without justifying or without inquiring proper system requirements, if you take the lesser system requirements like your lesser RAM size and then hard disk size of parameters, then what will happen? Ultimately, you or the company will be loser, right? Because even though if you create even though you have a solution which has been clearly defined on the paper, you will not be able to keep that into system because of the constraints, or because of the system constraints, right? So that's how you need to make sure that based on the business requirements, you need to make sure that the system requirements is fully satisfied, and every company or every client will provide the mandatory system requirements, like in order to Say for example, in order to store last 4 years data and current year data and next 5 years data, you need this kind of RAM size, you need this kind of hard disk. So all these system parameters will be are what kind of OS or what kind of servers you want to buy. So all these things will be specified by the company's sales team. So based on that, based on the multiple discussions will be concluding what kind of memory requirements it has to be needed. Yeah. So that's how we'll be converting this third step into business requirements. Yeah. So once we have this, then the ultimate thing is loading test data, right? So if you want to load the data into a system, I can't load the data into my system without creating the metadata, and so without, if I don't have members under my dimensions, I can't load data, right? So when I say data will be like a meaningful set, or data will be a meaningful record which will contain different parameters, right? So if I straightly go and if I want to create this kind of, or if I want to load this data called 1600, I can't load because I don't have this kind of members present in my system, right? So in order to have this kind of dimension or this kind of metadata which has been created in the system, okay, we'll be creating these members. Okay, so it's not that all these members has to be created manually, right? But as a practice, or I want to show you how you will be adding manually. I'm just showing this step, okay? But in reality, we will not be adding these members manually, okay? So we will be automating the updation, or you can say addition and updation of the metadata in the automation process. So that is called as rule file. Okay, so a file which will be acting, or a file, or a rule file is a file through which you can create metadata automatically. Okay, so that we will be discussing maybe in the next class, how you are going to create this rule file and how you are going to automate this. So all these things we'll be discussing in details in the further class. Okay, so let me show you how you will be creating these members manually. Let's say for example, if I want to add some kind of account, then you need to select this add child because it doesn't have anything as such, right? Then what I'll do, then, let's say for example P&L. Okay, escape. Under the P&L, I want to create some kind of revenue, okay, and then expenses. Yeah, so I am just, how I am writing, just writing as like we will be using our mouse, or I will be using our pad, right? Expenses, then press enter. Let's say for example I don't want to continue from here, just go to escape mode so that you will have revenues and expenses, right? So now you can see under your P&L I have my two members, which is my revenue and expenses. Let's say for example if I want to go and change this member, so if you can go and rename this as well, okay, like revenues I want to rename it, or let's say for example you want to let's say for example cut this. Let's say that means you can do all sorts of all sorts of these activities as such. So if let's say for example if you want to paste as sibling or child, okay, so that means you can do all these kind of, you can now you see what I did. So whatever member which is there in P&L, I moved this member into product. So in the same way I can cut this and I can paste this as child. Yeah, so based on the options that we have stipulated as the design, okay, system will take. And so once you do any kind of updates on the outline, you need to verify it. So what verification will do? Verification will look out for any errors. Either it can be in the let's say for example instead of your revenues, if you have given special characters, then what will happen? System will give you an error message, or system will give you some kind of warning message to verify the system. Okay, and then finally save it. So once you save this, what will happen? That outline will remain in the system. Yeah, clear guys? Okay, so that's how, once you have this kind of metadata. So let me open a simple example how we have created for my client. Yeah, so typically client will not be providing all this metadata, or client will provide a metadata, but you need to make sure that how this metadata will be transformed into Hyperion system. Okay, so let me open some kind of metadata updated. Okay, so here you can see, so company will provide all these members. Yeah, so they will provide what are the members that company will use for their business requirements. Yeah, here you can see. Yeah, so all these are the Excel sheets that company will provide. So company will provide the accounts. So here you have balance sheet. Yeah, and here you have some kind of P&L as well, right? So that means based on the company's business, let's say for example, if companies wants to use this P&L and balance sheet, or if they want to have some kind of system which can use this P&L balances sheets, then we'll create P&L and balances, right? So as I told, there is no limit for your dimensional members or dimensional hierarchies. Okay, so once we have this kind of Excel sheet, which I mean based on the requirement gathering that we have scheduled with the client, okay, we will be able to get these kind of metadata. Now you can see this particular combination is a metadata, right? Your balance sheet, or I can say a simple example, a balance sheet member from your accounts, and cost member from products, and actual member from scenario, and version called working from our version, and let's say for example FY17 from the sorry, from the year dimension, and let's say for example quarter one data from period dimension, let's say organizational unit called retail from my dimension structure, then there will be a data. It can be anything. In some cases, it can be even zero also. That means in multidimensional databases, it is not mandatory that all the records will be having a data. Right? There are situations that it may have or it may not be having a data. Okay? So that's how, based on the real, I'm just explaining in the real time also how we will be creating this kind of applications, right? So once we have this kind of requirements which is been given, then what I can do, I can transform this requirement by the parameters. Let's say for example, for P&L, I'm just adding here you can see, right? So I want to show my balance sheet as sibling for me P&L. Then what I'll do, I can use this add sibling. Yeah, so then you can copy and paste as well, right? As you have seen, right? So you can copy and paste as well, then press enter, then escape. Yeah, just select it. Then let's say for example, if you want to add child under balance sheet, add child, right? Let's say in general assets, liabilities, and then shareholders equity. Yeah, so all these are the members under your balance sheet, correct? So if I start adding the members under a parent will go give the count as well, right? So after that what will happen, you need to verify this. So as soon as you do any changes to the hierarchy or for the application, what you need to do, you need to verify and save it. Okay, so if you don't save it, system will not be able to store the records into our system or into our Hyperion system. Here you can see, yeah, getting it? Okay, so that's how we'll be creating the applications, and after that we'll be creating the members as well. Yeah, you can see all these options, how you will be adding a child, I will be adding a sibling, what is a sibling. So all these things has been clearly defined. I'll share these things, okay, with you. So as I told you, can move the members, you can rename the members, you can cut and paste these things, all these sorts of things has, or you can able to do all this kind of stuff in Hyperion. Okay, yeah, so then what I'll do, I'll just take next, I'll take some time. Can we there is some question from Intias, can we import the data if it's a huge rather than adding each child? Or yes, we can do. Okay, that's what I'm telling. That is by using a rule file concept, okay, which we'll be discussing in the next class, how to automate. Let's say for example, I have 2000 records. Okay, if I start adding one by one, it may take 1 month of time for me and my team, right? So in that cases, I'll not be able to complete a project. So in that situation, client will not accept these situations. So in that scenario, what we'll do, there is a concept called rule file concept. You can just need to create the mappings with a source file. So once you do this, system will generate some kind of rule file, and they will be able to load metadata first and then data list. Then next, okay, clear? Yeah, so that's how we'll be creating these members. Okay, so in the same way, what I'll do, I'll try to create some members for my product as well. Okay, let's say for example, as I told, retail, HR, and then marketing team, then management team. Okay, yeah, just timing. I have given 3 names. Okay, then in the year, let's say for example, if you want to add or if you want to analyze the data from last 2 to 3 years, like FY14 data, FY15, FY16, FY17, FY18, FY19, and FY20, right? Sorry, yeah, getting it? So once you feel that these members are enough, then just escape, verify, and then save it. So it's always mandatory, once you do any changes to your outline, you should actually save it, so that these changes will be seen in the application. Okay, so if I open this outline, I will be able to see members as well, right? Because I have created here. So in the same way, I'll just try to create a member for my entity. What I'll do Asia, Africa, and North America, South America, and then yeah, let's just wind up. So let's say for example, if our company is doing business in these right, and then for scenario, let's say for example, add child, which is your actual, because I want to analyze my actual data, then budget data, then forecast data. Yeah, so that's how we'll be analyzing Hyperion. That's how we'll be interpreting, and then we'll be creating the applications and the solutions for the client. Yeah, so once I do that, even if I open and close also, nothing will happen typically. So for whatever you have provided, we have got all these members. So in the same way for period as well, what I'll do just sorry, full year. Okay, so in the full year, what I'll do, I'll just add child Q1, Q2, sorry, Q3, Q4, right? So like this, under Q1 also you can create and you can actually save it so that this data will be available in the outline. Okay, so that's how we'll be typically maintaining, and I can say updating this metadata in the manual process. Okay, but in reality 99.99% nobody will prefer to do this kind of data entry. Like that means let's say for example you have 1000 records for accounts. Okay, you will be adding it. For products you will have some 400s. So if you start doing like this, you will be losing so much of time, right? Clear, guys? Yeah, so that's how we'll be typically as I told, we'll be following this SDLC at any point of time. Okay, but definitely we'll be covering these topics as well. Okay, yeah, so these are the topics that we need to cover. So I have explained, okay, how will be what is meant by means. So let's not go these topics. Okay, I have explained all these things. What is multi-dimensional database? What is Oracle Enterprise System? Then Essbase. Then let me explain what is product environment components. Okay, so in Hyperion or likewise for any IT software tools, okay, for Hyperion also, okay, we have different production application environments. Like in the case example is, let's say for example, if company wants to give some kind of, our company have adapted some solution, okay, in the form of Hyperion. Okay, so then in order to develop, or for developer team, I need some kind of solution, or I need to create some kind of application, right? So if I use the same server, then what will happen? There will be highly chances that these applications will collapse, right? So in order to have, or in order to nullify these kind of challenges, okay, so we will be having multiple environments, right? Like in the case example, let's say you have test environment, okay, you have development server, okay, you have testing server, you have production server. Okay, so at the start of your project, or once you get the contract from the client, okay, you need to tell them, or in the real time you will have three servers. Like for development, whatever you do your developments, for the system creation, we'll be doing the developments. Okay, and once you do this all sorts of development server activities, then you need to take this solution into the test server. So test server is nothing but some kind of verification application, or I can say verified application, which will be given to all the users. Okay, so in that test environment we'll be providing the testing elements, or we'll be providing our internal testing and external testing in the specified window, or in the specified window called as testing server. So in the same case we'll have other server, means testing can be called as UAT server as well, and finally the production server. Okay, so production server is nothing but day-to-day live business. Live business is called as production office. Okay, or production, you can say production server. Yeah, so that's how we'll be clearly defining the different servers that we'll be taking into consideration in the real time. Yeah, and then what I have done, I have created, I have explained this step as well, right? How to create the application, what is an application, what's a database, how you will be. So when I say Hyperion Essbase implementation is nothing but your SDLC, alright? So how the software development cycle will do, or what are the steps that we need to create. So all these things we have discussed in today's class. Okay, now in tomorrow's class, or maybe whatever it is, maybe it can be tomorrow or it can be for the next week also, so it really depends. Okay, so then in the next classes, coming classes, we'll be defining the data descriptor dimensions. In that, okay, how we'll be defining these things and how we'll be creating the calculations. Yeah, so then finally we'll be creating these dimensions by using rule file process. Yeah, it's not build rules files, but it's a rule file or rule files. Okay, so as I told, all the metadata and data can be automated by using a system called a rule file concept. Yeah, so we'll be seeing how to create a rule file here and how this rule file can be automated by using, or that automation can be possible by using this process as well. Yeah, then finally I'll show. Okay, once we create a metadata, I'm going to show you different properties. Or for let's say for example, every metadata will have a characteristic. Okay, or every individual will have a specific characteristic. So in the same way, for Hyperion elements also there will be different properties. Okay, like data storage properties, and or I can say consolidation operators as well. Right, so all these things can be discussed in the coming classes. So clear, guys? Yeah, so once you get the metadata, I'll show you how to load the data and then how to generate the reports as well. Yeah, and then how to create the reports in the Excel, right? How to I have shown, right? So in the Excel, okay, I can able to create the right set of metadata as well. I can say data as well. So that's how we'll be creating these members and then dimensional hierarchies. And then once we have this metadata, then finally I'll be loading the data. Okay, here you can see load and test the data, or I can say, okay, so once you load that and test it, that's called as a test data, right? So the data has to perform several calculations, or on top of the data we need to perform several calculations, and then finally you need to generate the reports. So that's how we'll be keeping close eye on this implementation process, and then we'll be clearly following step by step process or step by step, so that we'll be completing our curriculum properly. Okay, yeah. Yes. Okay. So then after that, then in order to get these calculations, we need to create calculation scripts. Okay. So yeah. So all these are the parameters that we are going to discuss. Okay, in detail. Yeah. Clear, guys? Any queries? Clear, guys? Hello.